Hello there, welcome to the Gover Gym podcast. I'm Matt Charlton. I've got a slightly deeper voice than usual this week. You might think it's quite sexy, but in fact it's mucus, which is the new sexy, I believe, I hear. David, hello, how are you?
Hi, good, well, better than you, boys.
Freshly back from South Africa.
Yes.
How many
Man of the
times?
world.
How many times do you say the word bro when you're out there, or bruh?
Bruh.
Yeah.
I don't want to offend anyone. It's
Okay.
my best behaviour, yeah.
Oh, right. You on your best behaviour. How does that work?
I don't know. To be honest, mainly being a bit intoxicated.
Oh, fair enough. Wait a minute, that doesn't work.
Well.
Okay, fair. And the next point of order I want to talk about is the thing that's sitting behind me in the car park out there.
Oh, yeah.
The bright purple car with chrome roll bars and wheels that seem to be about 10 foot tall. David's got a new car this week. I believe if a midlife crisis could be put into a vehicle, it would be the thing that's currently sitting in the car park at the moment. What is it, David?
It's a bit of that. Well, it's a big old truck, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we needed a truck for the company to lug barbells. Because I was taking barbells around the back of my Subaru. That is not very practical.
It's pretty low to the ground already, I believe. Yeah.
So, we needed a truck. And I was like, Claire, I found one online and it's purple. I'm going to buy it. So it looked quite big in the pictures. Yeah. It was huge when I got there. But I thought...
Your dad's not as big a fan, is he?
I think it divides opinion because it's fairly...
It's a divisive truck. I mean, it's also got illegal number plates at the moment, I believe, as well.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Who's stitching you up here? This is awful.
Well, me, apparently. Stitching you up. That's how it's working. It's all one way. So you are keeping it now?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, now you're saying it on this, so you have to, legally.
Yeah,
it's
I think so.
Binding.
I think so. I did have a bit of a crisis of confidence with it when I think my dad just...
What, right now?
No. I don't care how old you are. You always want to impress your parents.
Yeah.
And my dad looked at it and just shook his head and said, "What have you done?" Oh, God. And
I suppose the other piece of news that we should talk about is that we are coming from a brand new, shiny studio or a dining room table above the gym, one of the two. We're above the shop now. We are
above the gym, so if you hear any clunks, it's barbells being dropped.
Or bad dance music just in the background somewhere. That is Friday night at the gym. Let's move into the main bit this evening because we've got a very special guest sitting opposite me. And it's Captain Tom Evans of the Welsh Guard. Can I just call you Tom? Is that okay?
Yeah, call me Tom, please.
Okay, well, Tom, you are a marathon runner, I suppose. I think it's worth bearing in mind now that I'm coming from a place of complete ignorance when it comes to running. The only time I watch running in any capacity is during the Olympics. So that's as far as I get with it. Maybe the London Marathon, which coincidentally is this weekend. But you are a runner in your spare time, which is just ridiculous.
That is not strictly true.
Okay.
That's not Tom's job at all. He is in the Welsh Guard.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm...
Hence the captain. It's not something he just asks us to call him sometimes.
Yeah, so that's what I get all my friends to call me.
Great.
No, I'm an officer in the Welsh Guards. I was at school at Eastbourne College, left after my A-levels, and then went straight to Sandhurst, the officer training academy for the British Army, where I finished in 2012. And from there, been in the Welsh Guards ever since. I spent a year in East Africa, in Kenya, which was absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Learned a lot. It was just a great opportunity for me, and have, like you say, in my spare time, have sort of picked up the hobby of running, and one thing sort of just led to another with it. Really.
And that's really fairly recently that you've committed to the hobby of the run. You've been doing it for quite a while, haven't you? You've been doing it since school, but you've only recently decided, right, I'm going to go for this.
Yeah, exactly. I've always been really into my fitness and really into my training, and whether it's doing sort of some heavy lifting with David and the guys downstairs, or it's playing rugby for Heathfield, or it's going out on a run. I've always been really into it, and so now, in the last 4-5 months, I've really focused and try to make my training as specific as possible.
So bear in mind, this guy has only really been doing this in a committed way for 4 or 5 months. You have come third in the Marathon des Sables, sorry. I've got no idea. I will ask you about what the hell that is in a minute.
You need to do your due diligence.
Yeah. I will ask you what the hell that is in a minute. But it's the fastest British time ever.
Yeah, that's correct. I was lucky enough to be allowed to race in the Marathon des Sables.
So briefly explain what that is.
Yeah, I think people need to know
because
how
I'd never heard of it, frankly.
So also, before you answer that, can you tell me why you chose to do it?
My sort of interest in Marathon des Sables started off when I was about 16, so about 9 years ago now, where I watched the James Cracknell documentary when he completed it. I remember watching it thinking, wow, this is an amazing challenge, but never really thought much of it. And it's obviously just stayed in the back of my mind for the last 9 years. And for those of you listening who don't know what the race is, it's 250 kilometres across the Sahara Desert. You're going over big jebels, which are huge sandy hills. You're going over sand dunes. You're going across enormous dried out riverbeds and lakes in temperatures from 30 to 54 degrees, which it clocked this year.
So very similar to running in Sussex, really, in many ways.
Yeah, there is just absolutely no similarity.
No basis of comparison whatsoever.
No, it's sauna temperature.
Yeah.
So managed to get the place in the Marathon des Sables. And this year there were just under 1,500 competitors from 53 different countries. So it's hugely
Is
well
there
supported.
a criteria for joining it? I mean, would they take it if I applied tomorrow? Would they consider my application?
They would take absolutely anyone. The experiences vary hugely on Marathon des Sables. For example, in my tent, I had a size 14 65-year-old lady who did it. Who didn't run at all. She only walked.
Did she finish it?
And she finished it. She's got exactly the same.
I salute her.
Wow.
So I went into the race to compete. However, the majority go into the race just to complete it. And completing 250 kilometres.
Do they get sponsored and stuff like that?
Yeah, so a lot of people do it for charities. The majority do it for charities. And I was raising money for two charities. Firstly, Walking with the Wounded, who they raise money for ex-service personnel to then the transformation from military life into civilian life. And then secondly, the Welsh Guards charity, which is my regimental charity. And they give money to families of serving and ex-serving Welsh Guardsmen.
Very deserving then.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And it was amazing to be able to raise money. And everyone sort of from the gym in Sussex and then all over the country have been incredibly supportive. So I'd like to take my time now to say thank you very much.
Done.
The money does go a long way. And there's people from all across the country do it. So from Rosie, who I was talking about earlier, to then a guy called Duncan Slater, who's a double amputee, lost both of his legs in Afghanistan, who completed the race. He attempted it last year, and that just really shows sort of that mental strength and that courage. He got sort of knocked down last year, didn't complete it, got pulled off for medical reasons. And then this year came back and absolutely smashed it.
Prosthetics?
Yeah, 2 prosthetics below the knee, but is just an inspiration to everyone.
Absolutely.
I'd see him every day and you just think, wow, this guy is seriously mentally tough. So for anyone who's thinking about doing these events, it is possible. With a bit of training, which you can get the advice from Gover Gym, it is very, very doable.
Okay.
I mean, it is and it isn't. Tom is actually selling this thing short. I see the Marathon des Sables as more of a survival event than anything else because you can only eat what you carry with you. So you're going to be in a huge caloric deficit. You've got to be really careful with what you pack. 'Cause you don't want to have a huge 20-kilo backpack.
No.
You're not going to be able to do it.
It's an endurance event.
Yeah. No, it's a survival event.
Yeah.
Basically, you've got to have the basic survival skills to be able to do it. There are people that actually, one of a lady I used to work with called Rosie Manning, she got incredibly ill doing it one year. I think because you're just.
I'd imagine
so
that's really
dehydrated.
easy to get ill, though,
Yeah, of
isn't
course
it?
it is.
You've got the heat, you've got exposure, you've got calorie deficit, you've got lack of sleep, probably.
Yeah, ultimate exhaustion.
You're basically travelling across the desert as anyone in the last 200 years would have travelled across the desert. Maybe with better equipment, maybe with better shoes and sort of clothes, but you're exposed to the elements completely, aren't you?
Tell me about that, and tell me. I think one of your trump cards was your
Don't say the word Trump, David.
army
please.
background. So for survival wise, I think that's presumably put you in really good stead.
Yeah, I've got a lot to owe to the British Army. It is all, like David said, the race is self-sufficiency. You've got to carry everything that you're going to need except for the tent, which gets provided for you, and then every approximately 10 kilometres you get resupplied with water. But apart from that, you're carrying everything. So you decide sort of how many calories you're going to take, what sleeping bag you're going to have, because it does get pretty cold at night. Like I said earlier, so 54 degrees during the day, it probably drops to 14, 15 degrees at night. So temperature difference is huge, and you really feel it at night. And then plus the desert winds, it does get cold. I did a lot of research going into the event and testing the food, sort of which food worked for me, which got on with my stomach, so I could keep running and eating at the same time. Then also just ensuring that you've got the correct amount of calories, nutrients, vitamins to get you through the race. It's not necessarily the best athletes who will win the race. It's who can do it day in, day out, and that high level performance for a whole week essentially.
And I suppose this is where the experts come in beforehand, isn't it? They're telling you what to eat, what to do. I mean, you're on your own when you're out there, but beforehand you can get loads and loads of prep from a lot of people, I'm guessing.
Yeah, you can, but like I said earlier, experiences vary hugely from the race. And like we sort of established earlier, no British, no European male has ever finished on the podium.
Why do you think that is?
I think a whole mixture of different things, sort of lack of understanding, but for the guys, for the Moroccans, for Mohammed, for Samir, for Rashid, the guys who have been dominating the sport in the last couple of years, this is their backyard. They're used to running on the sand. That's home for them. It's their territory, and they sort of see it as a home fixture. They know the ground, they know the terrain, they know how to run on the sand. And whereas for the Europeans coming across, got absolutely no time or space to be able to practice on the sand if you work a full-time job like I do, and also there's nothing to replicate the ground as much as possible.
So what did you go into this competition hoping for? Because I'm assuming you didn't think I'm going to come third. You thought I would say you were going into it going I want to get through this, I want to do my personal best. But did you have any hope in your head of sort of getting a position?
You're a little bit like Nostradamus, I thought. I said to Tom about a week before we went, I was like, what are we hoping for here? What's best?
Yeah.
What should I tell my friends?
Yeah.
And it's like, everything goes to plan. Everything's perfect. All the stars align. I'll come third.
Really?
Yeah.
So you actually went in thinking I might
Yeah.
get...
So my preparation was pretty good. So my main effort for my preparation was staying under the radar. I didn't want to get out there and have any media attention when I got out there, or other racers looking at me thinking, oh, Tom's in good form or Tom's not in good form. I thought, sort of top 20 would be great, top 10 would be amazing, top 5 would be unheard of, but doable. Like David said, if all the stars are aligned, if everything goes to plan, top 5, maybe sneak onto the podium. It's never been done before. The best Brit, a guy called Danny Kendall, took him 6 attempts.
Second best Brit now,
Second best Brit.
Yeah. So at what point during the race did you think, hold on, I can do this?
So
this is going right.
So for me, day one was quick. I went out a bit hard. The race organisers had estimated that the first stage, which was 30 kilometres, would take us 2 hours 45 minutes. 2 hours and 8 minutes. I crossed the finish line.
Right.
So we were just under 40 minutes quicker than they thought. And in a 2-hour race, 40 minutes is almost half. So it was much quicker than I was expecting, and certainly much quicker than the Moroccans were expecting.
And why do you think that was? Why do you think you came out so fast?
I don't know. My taper leading up, so I had a great rest period before the race and just felt really good, really fresh. And I was just so excited. It was my first real exposure to proper racing in almost an elite, or certainly an elite environment.
So you were like, let me at it, come on.
Well, were you trying to rein yourself in, but you just couldn't do it? Were you just too excited?
Slightly. I'm so competitive.
No shit.
Yeah. It got to the point where it was first of kilometres all a bit slow, so I thought, right, let's push the speed. My training's gone well, let's just go on how I feel and we'll take it from there. And so I ended up, in the first 30 kilometres I did the first 28.5 kilometres on my own in front of the rest, with the Moroccans 100 metres behind, sort of working as a pack of 4 to track you down. And
like a peloton.
Precisely. Working together. And they do. There's real tactics in this long endurance running.
It almost sounds almost like the pursuit in the cycling. It sounds almost like that.
Yeah, no, exactly. And for them, this race is their, like I said earlier, it's their home ground, it's their terrain. They have dominated it forever, and they will continue to do amazingly in the future.
But were they pissed off of you?
Or surprised?
They must have
I
been.
think they were surprised. They were incredibly friendly. I'm sure they were surprised, but I think they thought after day one, certainly after day two, we've got a race on. We've never been challenged like this before, and I think to them it made them raise their game.
It made it interesting for them.
Precisely. It wasn't going to be a Morocco 1, 2, 3 like it's been for the last 5, 6, 7 years.
Okay.
So I think they actually quite enjoyed it, and I've been in been in touch with the Rashid and Mohammed, the two brothers who were first and second since getting back to the UK last week, and they've been so complimentary. They've been so kind. They've sort of been asking if I need anything, if I want to go out to Morocco to train with them.
Wow,
do so, which is
great.
You take them up on that?
Yeah, I definitely will if I can. If and when I get the time to do it, it would be absolutely incredible to do.
Are they nice lads?
Yeah, they're incredibly humble. They've come from such a different background to you or I, and for them, running is their life. It's the be all and end all. It's the way that they make their living, and they make an amazing living. And they are local heroes, local superstars, and Moroccan superstars. All through running, from doing something that they absolutely love to do, and they are incredibly good at. It's such desert running and endurance running is such a niche sport and such a niche skill. These guys are hands down. They are the best in the world at what they do. And I think for them, having someone completely foreign, a completely unknown entity go into the mix, shake it up a bit, and sort of see what happens. I think they thought, "Wow, this is impressive. This is amazing."
And now you're the third best in the world.
Yeah. which is bizarre.
I'm guessing it's still sinking in. I mean, someone says, you are the third best in the world. It's quite a hard thing to comprehend.
No, you're right. And even saying it now, I can't. I almost just
It's a bunch of words.
Goes over my head at the moment.
Yeah.
I was lucky enough to attend the running awards last night in London.
What time did you get in?
Yeah, so fairly late
or early. Yeah. So let's take it right back to when you decided that you were going to enter yourself into this. And I'll take it to David now. So if anyone came to you and said, "I'm going to do this event," what do I do? If they came with you, they were sort of average fitness. They weren't unfit, but they weren't like mega fit. And they said, "I'm thinking of doing this event. What would your first bit of advice be?"
Well, I'd look at the time frame. I'd be like, right, what, next year or the year after?
6 months.
Yeah, 6 months.
Yeah.
Like, right, how do you feel about your knees? How do you feel about your hips?
Okay.
You still want them to go. I don't think it's. I mean, Tom said that it is achievable for anyone, and that is true. I think Tom thinks everyone else is like him, but they're not. So I'll give you an example of when Tom and I used to. We spent a very fun summer just getting as big as possible, and training with Tom is unlike training with anyone else.
I'm imagining a montage, like a Top Gun type montage, you over one summer getting as big as possible.
What, topless,
sweaty,
with
let's hear it for the boys in the background. Yeah, that sort of thing.
Volleyball afterwards. It was pretty sweet.
Like Top Gun, but less clothes.
Absolutely.
So we know that we need to get 8 hours sleep to repair properly.
Yeah.
And Tom will be like, right, I've got to go home now. I'll be like, oh, cool, what are you doing this afternoon? He's like, well, I only slept for, my watch tells me I only slept for about 7 and a bit hours, so I'm going to get my head down 45 minutes.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Stuff like that. And
is that sort of discipline, is that from the army?
Yeah, very, very much so.
But you must have been slightly like that beforehand, though.
I think to a certain extent, from going straight from school into the army, you're in that institution, very institutionalised. I certainly still am, but it's not necessarily a bad thing.
I was going to say, it's got a negative connotation, but it's certainly working for you.
It just means that I'm a creature of habit.
And when you decide you're going to do something, you do it.
Yeah, exactly. If I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it properly.
Because I've heard you say in another interview recently that you first decided to do athletics because of your sister. Is that right? You saw her doing quite well.
That's correct.
Okay. Yeah. What happened there?
So she was, we were both at Ashdown House prep school on Ashdown Forest, and she was a bit of a star on the track. And I got a bit jealous and thought, right, this is something that...
Couldn't just be happy for you, could you?
No, no.
Siblings.
So I thought, right, let's give this running thing a go. How hard can it be? And that was sort of the real start of it. Had some superb teachers and coaches who I'm still in touch with now.
There must be a very proud school now.
Yeah, I think so.
You're going to be in the prospectus next year.
I think so, yeah.
On the cover.
Poster boy.
Yeah.
There have been a lot of offers to go to schools and give talks and things, which is absolutely amazing. I will do as much as I can.
Yeah.
And if anyone listening to this thinks that they could use that, just get in touch with David at the gym. Or get my contact details off him, and I'll be more than happy to do anything. Yeah,
but we'll go back to the training. Let's say there's a 6 month time frame. What's the first thing? No, it's me that got us off track. No pun intended. What's the first thing you do?
Right. So if they're serious about it, and I'm assuming we've got an athlete that's injury free and
someone
and moderately fit.
Yeah.
Okay, they need to get hours on their legs. Is the first thing.
They've got to decide how they want to do in the race before you start training. You'd need to decide what type of race you were going to have.
Okay.
So, for example, there were some people, the slowest person on the race did the race in 94 hours. I did the race in 19 hours.
So a bit of a difference. I can't do the maths on that, but David, write something down.
It's a completely different race. It's people walking compared to people running at a fast
people going
pace.
for the experience rather than
Precisely.
to win.
I think if you've got that in your mind and you decide, actually, I'm going to be a walker. I don't want to come in the top 100. I don't want to come in the top 500. I want to take part in the toughest foot race on the earth, and at the end be handed a medal.
I want a really good Instagram at the end of it with a medal, basically.
Precisely. But I think if you can decide what type of race you're going to have, that will be the building blocks from it.
It's interesting though, because you do, obviously you're teaching your body, timing your feet and everything like that, but it sounds like whatever sort of race you decide to run, you're also teaching your stomach.
Yeah, definitely.
Tom sat down with Ollie, and did you come up with the plan together?
Yeah, we did. So I knew roughly what calories I was going to need for the days, and I was working off 2,300 calories, which for me it was still going to be a deficit, but it'd be enough to keep my performance of a high enough standard throughout the week. And then on the long days, so for the 86 kilometre day, I was on 3,150 calories, and that was a real mixture of freeze-dried, dehydrated food. The reason you take that is because it's significantly lighter than stereotypical boil in the bag camping meal.
Is it like army rations? Is it a similar thing?
Fairly similar, but there are a couple of niche products for expedition foods. Combining that with OG supplements, so I was taking another 560 calories a day through OG supplements, which were amazing. I'd have one as soon as I finished, and then an hour after that. So in that golden window, just to get those muscles repairing. My body now is feeling absolutely fine, and I owe a lot of that to OG supplements, which are absolutely incredible.
Good on Ollie. Good on Ollie.
Awesome.
David, what can a calorie deficit do to the body in that sort of situation, though?
Well, it starts breaking itself down.
It starts eating itself, is it? To put it in a very crude way.
Yeah, people always talk about being hangry and things like that. They don't know, understand what Tom has been through. When he's talking about burning 5,000 calories a day, it's a staggering amount. So the deficit is huge. So he's feeling drained. He wouldn't be able to sleep properly. Might have become sort of irrational, a bit sort of short with people. Even though Tom doesn't seem to have that in him, being such a gentleman. But yeah, it's not a nice place to be, especially not for 6 days on the trot.
So did you have any hallucinations, just out of interest? Did you start seeing any mirages or anything like that?
No, I didn't. People did, and like I said, races vary so much. I wasn't in the heat for that long.
Right.
It's going to sound a bit silly, but the quicker you do the race, the easier it is, because the less time you spend on your feet, the less time you're in the heat.
Yeah.
The less calories you're burning just from being out on your feet during the
blisters
day.
on your feet.
Less blisters.
Yeah.
And for me, I had loads of rest. I was resting for the majority of the day. I was only exercising for 3 hours a day.
So did you see anyone hallucinating, though? Did you see anyone sort of like looking at something that wasn't there?
Are you
in front
running
of
and there's people just dropping around you, like or people on drips?
Yeah, there were quite a lot of people on drips this year just because of the hot. But the medical support and the medical facilities they've got up there are absolutely amazing.
Are the water stations also medical stations?
Yes, they are.
Right.
So somewhere between 9 and 13 kilometres, which, depending on what speed you're going, obviously will determine how quickly you get to them. But I was getting to the checkpoints in somewhere between 35 and 55 minutes. So I had enough water. I ran out of water once on the third day, but that was only for 5-6 minutes.
And did you feel that 5 and 6 minutes though?
Yeah, I started to panic slightly. I was using my watch, so every kilometre my watch would vibrate, and then I would use that as a reminder to drink. Just refocusing.
Is that common practice?
Yeah, fairly. It's just refocusing your mind. As everyone knows, when you're exercising or you're out on a long walk or a long run, or even if you're driving your car, your mind will wander and you'll just think, wow, where have the last 5 minutes gone? And you just sort of refocusing and bringing yourself
keeps the regime and the program going.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you just think, right, that's another kilometre down.
So when that little beat goes, things get thrown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, precisely. So just so you know where you are, you know what you're doing. And it also just helps keep you sane.
Yes, I mean, keeping sane in the desert is quite a big thing, I'd imagine. What's the hairiest moment you had?
I was all right. There was some pretty technical terrain. So there was one day where we were almost sort of running on a knife edge
of sand.
On rocks, on the spine of a mountain.
Oh shit!
Whoa!
Steep drops on either side, and it was just it was the most picturesque and some of the best running I've ever done.
And can you take a moment to take it in, or are you're too focused on?
You're very focused on sort of where your feet are going. But yeah, you can still see it. So my most memorable moment was on the second day. I was running as a group of 5 of us, and myself and 4 Moroccans. We were on a dried out lake bed, about 300 metres on the left hand side, with some big, huge sand dunes. And then in between the group of runners, and so myself included, and the sand dunes, there was a family of 4 camels just running alongside us. I was just there thinking, I almost thought I was hallucinating. And I was like, this is...
I was going to say,
You think, oh God, it started. Oh no.
Yeah, but that was just incredibly surreal. And I sort of pointed out to the Moroccans, guys, look at that. And so they just sort of look at me like I've got a chicken on my head. For them, it's natural.
It's like seeing a cow.
Yeah, but if you brought them here and if you went running into Ashdown Forest or wherever and they saw some deer,
they'd lose their shit over some deer, wouldn't they? They'd love it.
This is just incredible.
Yeah.
And which is I was.
Were you talking to the Moroccans much? Was there any sort of smack talking or anything like that? Or is it all quite pleasant?
It was all really pleasant. After the first couple of days, sort of after gaining their respect, they were great. My French is okay, and their English was really good.
Yeah.
I was going to say, by the very end, I don't think I'd be speaking either French or English. I'd just be speaking some garbled language and crying, I'd imagine. So did you have to, when you did finish, did you have time to take in what had happened? Or was it all very rushed? Were you suddenly on a podium?
I had the afternoon. I knew, after finishing the long stage, I knew that 4 minutes in front of me was second place and 45 minutes behind me was 4th place. So I was in 3rd. And unless I had a shocker, I was going to finish on the podium. So just tried to block that out of my mind as much as possible and think, right, I'm going to run my race. I'm going to do as well as I can. I've had the run of my life. This is just the most surreal, incredible, amazing experience ever.
Surreal's the word, yeah.
And was it the run of your life? Could you have gone quicker? Because that's an exciting... To me, this is what's exciting, is that Tom's not an experienced runner.
No.
Not by their pro running standards. And his preparation, whilst it was good, he's not a pro athlete. He's got a full-time job.
Yeah, sure.
All these other guys are pro athletes. So I think, well, his future's incredibly exciting. But on the days in the racing, did you race your best? Could you have saved more time? Could you have gone harder?
I couldn't... Under the circumstances, no, that was...
You got it just out. Well done.
That was me.
Got it right, nice.
Race went to plan. However, like you said, your preparation can always be better. You can always improve 1%. And those 1% all add up.
Let's talk about those percentages. I want to know, mentally, A, how you came to be like that, and B, how do you maintain it during the races, and what are you thinking about while you're running?
A lot's got to be owed to my military career. Is that discipline, it's that state of mind that you've got to put yourself into, knowing that you're only going to get out what you put in. And I appreciate sometimes it's difficult, things get in the way, but as long as you can sort of look at yourself at the end of the day and say, right, I did everything today as well as I could have done. Under the circumstances, amazing. That's all.
Oh, God, I don't think I can ever say that at the end of the day.
That's all.
I wish I could.
It's a nice mantra to have at the end of the day.
I have good moments.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's no reason why it can't be.
And that sounds to me like the attitude of a pro athlete, which leads me to my next question, which is the future. Because we're coming to the end of the show now, so we want to talk about your future and what your next plans are. Because how are you in the army for a long time? Are you...
Yeah, so I'm currently serving the British Army, and I will be carrying on with my running.
Right.
Not entirely sure what that looks like at the moment.
Does it look a bit like Tokyo?
That's
Tokes.
Very far.
Tokes, yeah.
It's very far. Actually, it's not even that far away.
It's not, is it? No, 3 years.
Away, would be in the marathon. It's definitely something to think about.
Listen to this. Tom Evans, Olympian.
That sounds good.
We could live with that, couldn't we?
It sounds amazing, and it's definitely in my mind. I think
yes.
For me at the moment, sort of Commonwealth Games is probably slightly more realistic running for England.
Great.
I'm racing in the UK 100 kilometre championships at the end of next month, and then I'm in Italy the month after, racing on the Ultra Trail World Tour as an elite athlete. I've done pretty well in a race, and now I've just...
Well, this placing must have opened up a lot of doors for you.
Yeah, the opportunities have been amazing, but it's just making sure that I pick the right event.
Absolutely, yeah.
That is going to suit me.
And challenge you as well.
Challenge me, but also you're only as good as your last event. If I messed up now, all of this hard work could potentially be wasted. So you can't rush into things. You've got to be got to be tactical with your race selection, like everything in life. Like I've said earlier, I'm only going to do something if I can do it properly.
Yeah, make that call.
Yeah, and make
Make
that
a good decision.
Yeah. You've got to look after yourself with all the best intentions. I've got some absolutely amazing coaches, some of the best coaches in the country, physios and everything. They're all absolutely superb. But the only person that knows what's going on in your mind is you.
We're moving to the end of the show now. Far too short, in my opinion. But David, have you got any final questions? Anything you want to ask?
I've got so much I really want to ask Tom about.
We might do a part two, maybe at some point.
If he's got there, he's in high demand now.
Very high demand.
His life has just changed. But one of the questions I do want to ask is: Tom doesn't look like an ultra runner, a sort of stereotypical ultra runner. He's holding a little bit more mass. It's almost like a hangover from our hypertrophy days. Do you think it hindered you carrying that bit of extra weight, or do you think that your legs being that much more powerful than everyone else's, when you were coming up those dunes, it was an asset?
Going over the dunes, yes, it definitely does. A lot of my work and a lot of my training was focused on speed work and power, which I think is really important.
And is that traditional?
No, it's not. It's the Sussex and sort of the Southeast ultra running community, sort of myself, Dan Lawson, Robbie Britton, are all now going into ultra running sort of almost with a marathon training program with a little bit of endurance thrown in. So focusing a lot on high quality miles rather than those people describe just running for the sake of running as junk miles. So minimum junk miles and make the training worthwhile and making it good, which is really important. However, having said that, if you manage to maintain the same amount of strength in your legs, for every kilogram you lose, you'll take a minute off a marathon time. And I'm currently running a 220, 222 marathon. So if I lost 5 kilos, that would be Commonwealth Games qualification time. And I've definitely got 5 kilos to lose.
Now, Tom, as you said to me the other day, you can't show a girl your lungs.
No,
what a catchphrase.
It is.
I don't want your
true.
torso to get any smaller, as good as it is.
No, David, you raise a very, very good point.
Yes.
However,
Show a girl your lungs.
sometimes you've just got to make that ultimate sacrifice.
That is really going the extra mile.
But like you said, it's difficult. I used to.
A kilo gives you an extra minute. That is staggering.
Yeah.
That really.
It all counts.
That's
It all counts, as you said.
yeah.
That kilo, that minute, that those few seconds you shave off, that little bit of muscle mass.
Makes you lighter. So you have to apply less force. Gravity's not working as hard because you're lighter.
Pick up less injuries, I should
Picking
imagine.
up less injuries.
Yeah.
Your body's easier to move. You're more efficient. It all adds up. And this is extra 1%. When you're looking for those such tiny margins, a minute's a huge amount of time.
I guess the answer is yes.
So the body will be changing a bit. I finished the race at 73 kilos. I'm now up to about 76. My 100k, I'll probably drop back down to. I started at 73, and then I'm going to try and sit in and around sort of 70, 73 for the remainder of the year. Don't want to lose too much. You get a lot of ultra runners get quite ill and pick up colds fairly easily because they've got such low body fat percentage. Their immune system's sometimes not great. So for me, it's just all about staying really healthy, just so you can train at that intensity and at that tempo.
Definitely.
And staying away from me at the moment, I think, is the key.
I love the idea of avoiding junk miles, and I think that you can do that. That applies to all training. You know when you go into the gym, and it's just not worth your while, or it's not as productive as it could be, and just avoiding that and everything being quality. I like that idea.
You do need to train hard. You need to train very hard to get those results. And if your body is tired, and you've got to listen to your body. If it's not going to be, if the juice isn't going to be worth the squeeze, then rest up and do something else with your.
I think that's a brilliant point to end on. We've run out of time. Tom, thank you so much for coming in today. It's been very inspiring, even for a cynical bastard like me. It's been very inspiring listening to you. Hopefully, we can do this again sometime soon. And best of luck with everything you plan to do in the future. David, I will see you next week, same time, same place, and we'll see you soon. Say bye, everyone.
I'm very proud of you, Tom.
Yeah, very proud of you. Well done.
Thanks very much. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.